Hey guys, today we're sewing a pair of pants with dividing seams. In my opinion, these always give the garment a very cool touch. You can find the pattern for the pants on my website. The link is in the video description down below, and for the first 20 of you, there's a 20% discount with the code JOGGING. If you don't want to miss the next sewing tutorials, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and if you like the pair of pants, I'm very happy about every thumbs up. In this tutorial, I will be using my normal sewing machine, the Singer HD 6335M, but also my Yuki overlock machine, the MO50EN. If you only have a normal sewing machine, no problem at all. I will be explaining everything within this framework, and all the parts that I'm sewing with the overlock are just a nice extra.
But what do we actually need to sew the pants? Approximately 2 meters of waffle piqué fabric, a universal sewing needle, a normal sewing foot and an edge sewing foot, an iron, a pair of scissors, a seam ripper, a tape measure, chalk or a colored pencil, thread that matches the color of the fabric, a 4 cm wide elastic band. The length varies depending on your hip circumference, a 140 to 160 cm long cord ribbon, 2 metal eyelets, and a safety pin. Once we have all our utensils together, we need to prepare our pattern. To do this, we lay all the A4 pages in front of us in the correct order and cut everything perfectly along the edges. Then we have to glue all the small individual pieces together to make our final pattern pieces using sellotape. For the fabric, I chose a light gray waffle piqué, which I think has a very cool look and is quite airy for summer. You can of course also use sweat fabric or a thick French terry. We now spread out our fabric in front of us. Pay attention to the weave direction of the fabric. For pants, you should make sure that the weave direction is vertical for all pieces. The fabric can be folded on top of each other for this project. This is because we are laying the 2 parts of the back trouser leg, the 2 outer parts of the front trouser leg, and the 2 pocket bag pattern pieces on the fabric. Fold the pattern piece for the waistband in half and place it on the folded edge of the fabric. This is the closed edge of the folded fabric, which you can see on the left hand side. All these pieces are now neatly cut out. You can of course also draw the silhouette on. However, I cut directly along the pattern here. Next, we take our pattern piece for the dividing strips. Each front trouser leg gets 5 strips, so we need a total of 10 strips. I make the appropriate markings on the fabric. Finally, of course, we cut out our strips. Now we start with the back trouser legs. What comes next applies to the right and left back trouser legs. We lay our top and bottom trouser legs with the right side of the fabric facing upwards. As a reminder, the right side of the fabric is always the side that will be later visible on the outside. The wrong side of the fabric should be on the inside. If you're using a fabric where the left and right sides of the fabric are not easy to identify, always mark the left side of the fabric for each piece you cut out as soon as you have found it. This will prevent you from sewing the wrong sides together. Now fix the bottom piece of fabric with clips, right sides facing. This section is sewn together using a straight stitch, stitch length 3, and the needle position in the middle. The presser foot glides along the edge of the 2 layers of fabric with its own edge. We then fold the seam allowance down, take our edge sewing foot and sew a beautiful top stitch seam on the right side of the fabric with a stitch length of 4. Next, we place our 2 back trouser legs on top of each other and secure the crotch section with clips. This section is then sewn together and finished with the overlock. If you don't have an overlock machine, you can also check the operating instructions for your sewing machine to see what kind of overlock stitches your machine has and use them to sew the passage again close to the edge. Of course, you can also do it completely without. Now we continue with the front trouser legs, with the dividing strips. What comes next applies to the right and left front trouser leg. We lay our strips in front of us with the right side of the fabric facing upwards and place 2 strips right sides together and secure the whole thing with clips. Sew them together lengthwise and then top stitch the seam from the right side. We do this procedure with all strips until we have the uniform middle section, and then we place the outer and inner sections of the front trouser leg on our outermost strips of the middle section. These are then also sewn together lengthwise and given the top stitching. Now place our trouser leg and pocket bag piece in front of us and then place the pocket bag piece right sides together on this edge with clips. Sew the section with a normal straight stitch, a stitch length of 2, and the needle position in the middle. The presser foot always glides with its own edge on the edge of the fabric. Now turn the pocket bag piece inside out. By moving it back and forth between our fingers, we now bring this edge of the fabric together. Now take our edge sewing foot, set the stitch length to 4, and make a top stitch seam lengthwise. This allows us to place the rear matching pocket bag right sides together on the folded over back. Only the short part on the top and a very short part on the outside are secured. The upper section is sewn down completely, very close to the edge from the right side. The outer section is much shorter, about 2 cm. Now the back pocket bag can be properly secured with clips. The entire bag is sewn shut all the way around. Just make sure to unstitch directly at the points where the passages that were briefly attached earlier end. As soon as we prepared both front trouser legs with the pockets, we can fix both right sides together at the crotch with clips. Sew this section together and finish with the overlock. Now fold the inner seam allowance to the right and top stitch from the right side of the fabric. Make sure to pull the fabric apart at small intervals in round areas to get a nice straight top stitch seam. Using the top stitch seam for the crotch, we can now take our back trouser legs and fold the inner seam allowance in the same direction and make a top stitch seam from the right side here too. We can now lay our front and back trouser legs right sides together. When making the inseam, make sure that the front and back of the seam run neatly into each other. From there, the entire inner leg section is then secured with clips. This section is then also sewn together and finished with the overlock. The seam allowance is folded towards the back of the trousers and top stitch from the right side. The other sides of the trousers can now also be secured with clips and sewn together. Here too, the seam allowance is finished with the overlock. This allows us to finish the trouser leg openings. To do this, I first fold over approximately 1 cm of these trousers and then fold over another 2 cm. This strip is fixed all the way around and then neatly ironed. The strip is then sewn from the inside edge to edge using the normal presser foot and the needle position on the left. Finally, we just need to finish the waistband. To do this, we secure both ends right sides together with clips and sew the section together. As we are not only making an elastic band in the waistband, but also a cord band, we now make 2 markings for 2 metal eyelets. I would simply do this on the seam that has just been created. As soon as we have inserted the 2 metal eyelets, the waistband is now folded in half all the way around, left sides facing and secured with clips all the way around. Sew it closed all the way around, but leave a 6 to 8 cm wide area open, as this is where we will insert our elastic band. Before we do this, we mark 8 equal sections on our waistband with clips. We also divide the waistband of our trousers into 8 equal sections. In my case, I make a mark at 86 cm for the 4 cm wide elastic band. My hip circumference is 96 cm, which is a comfortable difference for me to wear. There should be a little overhang in the elastic band. Now we take a safety pin and thread the elastic band through our waistband. Once we are around, we sew both ends of the elastic together at the previously marked point using a zigzag stitch. Make sure that the elastic band does not twist when you pass it through the waistband. Now quickly sew up the small opening. As soon as we have done this, we can sew the first top stitch seam on the waistband. We use the top edge of the waistband as a guide. The needle position is on the left. The waistband must always be stretched to the normal length when sewing. The second top stitch seam is made at the lower edge of the waistband, with the needle position on the right and the edge of the presser foot aligned with the existing seam that holds the waistband closed. Now place the waistband right sides together with the open edge of the fabric facing upwards all the way around using the clips. The waistband is now sewn all the way around. Stretch the waistband evenly before and after the presser foot to achieve a nice end result. The seam allowance is then finished with the overlock. Last but not least, we want to thread our cord ribbon through our middle waistband layer. To do this, we take our cord ribbon and thread it through the right buttonhole. Then gather some fabric at the small end, and once you're around, you come out at the left buttonhole. And this is the finished casual sweatpants with beautiful dividing stripes. I just love this fit. And you can definitely conjure up all kinds of outfits with these pants. Not too basic, but not too flashy either. All the top stitching, in combination with the straight cut fit, give the trousers the perfect balance.
If you liked the video, then I'm definitely happy about every thumbs up. Feel free to let me know in the comments how you liked the video, and if you got any suggestions or questions, please let me know. See you at the next video. Until then, have fun sewing.